You know a childhood where you were sent home without anyone saying, "Great job." When you slung your school bag over your shoulder and stepped out the door, it wasn't watchful eyes following you, but the sound of a closing door that greeted you. Perhaps there was a house key around your neck, its cold metal swinging beneath your t-shirt, and you filled the entirety of the afternoon yourself. No one asked where you were. It wasn't that no one cared how your day went, there was simply no habit of asking. Getting home before dark was enough. That was enough. And you were enough. For years. But now, perhaps for the first time, allow yourself to ask, where did that being enough take you? If you were born between 1965 and 1980, you belong to the least studied, least discussed, and quietest generation in history. You grew up in the shadow of the baby boomers and slipped under the noise of the millennials. No one rushed to find a name for you. Even the letter X felt like an afterthought, as if you were a variable in an equation to be filled, not a question worth answering. But the letter X actually defines you perfectly. The unknown, undefined, complete within yourself, yet still a question mark to the outside observer. Understand this, your generation did not grow up on applause. This isn't a complaint, it's a psychological reality. In the America and the world of the 70s and 80s, parenting was a very different thing. Emotional validation wasn't a goal, it was considered a luxury. A parent who used the phrase "good job" too often was seen as spoiling the child. Being strong was more valuable than naming an emotion. Standing on your own feet was more important than exploring your inner world. And you stood. No one can deny that. But psychologists say this: a child who grows up without constant validation does not stop seeking it. They internalize the search. When they learn it won't come from the outside, they try to give it to themselves, or they convince themselves they no longer need it at all. Both carry the same wound, they just wear different clothes. You remember the fluorescent lit aisles of Blockbuster, that strange thrill of holding a VHS tape, looking at the cover, feeling a spark of possibility for the night. You remember waking up at 6 a.m. for Saturday morning cartoons. No one woke you. You got up yourself because those hours belonged to you and you knew it. You remember the hiss and click of dial-up internet connecting and how that sound felt like a door, the threshold to another world that only you knew. Your childhood existed before it was structured by technology. You were bored, truly bored, and that boredom forced you to be creative. You grabbed your bike. You built things. Hours passed without anyone asking where you were. That freedom both empowered you and isolated you, and both were true at the same time. Your childhood existed before it was structured by technology. You were bored, truly bored, and that boredom forced you to be creative. You grabbed your bike. You built things. Hours passed without anyone asking where you were. That freedom both empowered you and isolated you, and both were true at the same time. Now you are in your 30s, 40s, 50s, or 60s, and perhaps you realize this. You see the needs of others much more easily than your own. Asking for help feels much harder than giving it. When someone pays you a compliment, something strange happens inside. It feels almost uncomfortable to accept. As if that compliment doesn't belong to you, like a letter delivered to the wrong address. This is no coincidence. This is an attachment pattern developed when emotional validation was inconsistent or absent. Psychologists give it various names: avoidant attachment, suppressed emotional needs. But beyond the names, it says this: children who grow up without applause learn to hide their needs so well that after a while, they begin to hide them from themselves. You didn't think you had no needs, you just forgot how to feel them. But I also want you to know this. Generation X is one of the most resilient generations in history. And this resilience is real, not performative, but earned. You saw economic crises. You watched technology upend the world. You lived in both the analog and digital worlds, the last generation to understand both. You saw jobs vanish, institutions crumble, and guarantees dissolve one by one. And every time, you adjusted. You adapted. You kept going. But resilience does not mean not suffering. Resilience means being able to walk alongside the pain and understanding the difference between the two. That can change everything. Perhaps you are in the middle of your life now, and you are still carrying that child, the child who learned to open the door with the key around their neck, who stopped waiting for anyone. And perhaps that child still believes that needing someone is a weakness, still believes that the safest place is where you need no one. That belief protected you. It really did. When you were tiny and had no other choice, that belief kept you standing. I do not belittle it. I see it and I honor it. But you are an adult now. And now that protection might feel like a cage. It keeps people out instead of letting them in. It keeps you carrying everything alone instead of asking for help. It makes it hard to fully believe, even when you are loved. This is not your fault. This is a survival strategy built by a child with the best tools they had. And survival strategies keep working even when they are no longer needed, until you notice them. You grew up without applause. That is a fact. But that doesn't mean you didn't deserve the applause. It just means no one taught you how to receive it. There is magic in your ordinariness, in the weight you carry without making a scene, in the work you do without a thank you, in the way you put your life back in order even when it falls apart. You are seen, maybe not early enough, maybe not often enough, maybe not by the right people. But right now, as you read these words, if you feel something inside saying, yes, this is me, that feeling recognizes you. And being recognized, no matter when it happens, is never too late.